This content is for informational purposes only and does not replace professional medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for personal health concerns. Have you ever noticed that the moment your high-pressure project finally wraps up or your vacation begins, you immediately come down with a fever or a nagging cold? If you feel like your body waits for a moment of stillness to fall apart, you are not imagining things. There is a profound biological conversation happening beneath the surface, where your psychological state directly influences your physical defenses. We live in an era where chronic busyness is often worn as a badge of honor, yet we rarely pause to consider the physiological toll of maintaining that pace. While you are pushing through late nights and tight deadlines, your internal systems are working overtime to compensate, often at a hidden cost. Think of your immune system as a sophisticated security detail. When you are constantly under pressure, that detail becomes exhausted, distracted, and ultimately less effective at its job. It is not necessarily that stress creates a new illness from thin air, but rather that it lowers the drawbridge, allowing pathogens that your body would normally handle with ease to gain a foothold. Studies indicate that prolonged activation of the body's stress response can lead to a state of systemic inflammation, which keeps your protective cells in a perpetual, unproductive frenzy. Over time, this constant state of high alert leaves your defenses depleted, making you significantly more susceptible to the viruses and bacteria you encounter every single day. When we ignore the signals of burnout, we are essentially asking our biological systems to run on fumes. By understanding the intricate link between our emotional landscape and our physical resilience, we can begin to shift how we approach our daily responsibilities. You might be wondering exactly how your brain sends these signals to your immune cells, or why certain types of tension seem to cause more damage than others. Let's break down the science behind this internal shift and see exactly what happens inside your body when the stress response refuses to turn off. To grasp why your internal defenses falter, we have to trace the communication highway that connects your mind to your biology. It begins in the hypothalamus, a small but command-heavy region at the base of your brain. This is what scientists call the HPA axis. Under normal circumstances, this system is a masterpiece of efficiency. It releases a quick burst of energy to help you navigate a challenge, then resets once the coast is clear. However, when life keeps you in a state of perpetual high alert, that emergency switch gets stuck in the on position. While cortisol is vital for regulating blood sugar and reducing temporary inflammation, its chronic presence acts like a heavy blanket over your immune system. Research suggests that when cortisol levels remain elevated for extended periods, your body begins to downregulate the production of white blood cells. Think of these cells as the sentinels of your health, tasked with identifying and neutralizing intruders. It's a fascinating, albeit troubling, physiological trade-off. Your body is essentially prioritizing immediate survival over long-term maintenance. In this state of constant mobilization, your internal resources are diverted away from the sophisticated processes of immune surveillance and repair, funneling that energy toward the muscles and heart instead. Studies indicate that this hormonal imbalance doesn't just lower your defenses, it can also alter the way your immune cells communicate with one another, leading to a sluggish response when you finally do encounter a virus or bacteria. This isn't just about feeling tired, it's a fundamental shift in how your biology manages its own protection. When the HPA axis refuses to power down, your internal environment changes, creating a landscape where inflammation can thrive and your natural healing capabilities are stifled. Now that we have a clearer picture of how this hormonal cycle disrupts your internal defenses, we need to look at the tangible consequences of this suppression and how it manifests in your day-to-day health. However, the impact of these hormonal shifts isn't felt equally by everyone. While we all navigate the pressures of modern life, the vulnerability of our immune system often depends on the duration and nature of the stress we carry. Whether it stems from persistent workplace demands, financial instability, or the heavy burden of caregiving, this ongoing emotional weight keeps your body in a state of high alert that it was never designed to sustain. Research suggests that when the mind remains trapped in a cycle of perceived threat, the body's ability to produce infection-fighting white blood cells begins to wane, leaving you more open to the very pathogens you are trying to avoid. Foremost among these is sleep deprivation. Think of sleep as the primary maintenance shift for your biological machinery. When you cut that window short, you aren't just feeling tired. You are actively stripping your immune system of the time it needs to reorganize and replenish its defenses. When you combine this lack of restoration with poor nutrition or a sedentary routine, you create a perfect storm where the immune system is forced to operate on a depleted budget. Certain populations carry a heavier load in this regard. Humans are inherently social creatures, and when that connection is severed, the body can perceive it as a fundamental threat, further spiking cortisol levels and deepening the immune suppression we've discussed. Similarly, older adults often find that their immune responses are less resilient, making the cumulative effect of chronic stress particularly taxing as the body's innate ability to bounce back naturally slows down. Medical professionals frequently highlight that these populations require a more proactive approach to stress management, as their internal buffers are often thinner than those of a younger, more robust individual. They accumulate, layering on top of one another until the body's threshold for recovery is tested. By understanding who is most at risk and why these specific triggers hit so hard, we can move beyond merely reacting to illness and begin to build a more resilient foundation. Now that we have mapped out the people and habits most susceptible to this decline, we can examine the actionable strategies that might help you strengthen your defenses against these silent stressors. While we've discussed the architecture of stress and its impact on your internal defenses, the most vital step is learning how to listen to the language your body speaks when it's struggling to keep up. Often, the immune system doesn't just shut down. It sends out distress signals that we frequently dismiss as mere inconveniences. Consider the pace at which you recover from a small cut or a scrape. If you notice that minor wounds seem to linger far longer than they once did, take note. When your cortisol levels remain elevated, your cells lose the efficiency required to repair tissue, effectively slowing down your innate ability to mend. Similarly, if you find yourself cycling through one viral infection after another, a persistent cold that won't quit or a recurring flu, this isn't just bad luck. Your body is essentially running on a depleted battery, unable to mount the robust response needed to neutralize common pathogens before they take hold. Beyond these visible markers, look for the quiet, persistent hum of inflammation. When the immune system is dysregulated, it can become stuck in a state of hypervigilance, attacking healthy tissue or simply failing to regulate its own chemical messengers. This internal friction drains your energy and leaves you vulnerable to more than just the common cold. To summarize, your physical health is a feedback loop. Slow wound healing, frequent illnesses, and chronic inflammation are not just symptoms, they are data points. They tell a story of a system that has been pushed past its capacity by the weight of modern stress. Your body is incredibly resilient, but it requires you to honor its limits and respond to its cues with intention and care. This content is for informational purposes only. If you found this information helpful, consider subscribing to the channel for more insights into how you can support your long-term well-being.